Most people lose arguments long before they even speak a single word. They step into a high-stakes conversation, already feeling incredibly defensive, reacting way too fast, speaking far too loud, and completely letting their raw emotions take the steering wheel. They view the interaction as a battlefield, where volume equals power, and whoever speaks the fastest or the loudest ultimately wins the respect of the room. But in that exact moment, when they lose their composure and raise their voice, they hand over all their psychological power. But what if you could stay completely calm, composed, and still win absolutely every verbal fight you ever engage in? What if the real secret to dominance and leadership isn't raising your voice, talking over people, or proving them wrong, but rather mastering the quiet art of strategic silence, sharp boundaries, and highly precise words? In this video, you will learn 5 precise psychological replies that instantly shift the power right back into your hands. No matter who you are talking to, these are not random, aggressive phrases or cheap comebacks. They are highly calculated, elegant tools used by the most persuasive and influential people to protect their inner peace, entirely dismantle direct aggression, and command absolute respect in any given room without ever breaking a sweat. Today, we will cover 5 specific principles that turn chaotic tension into quiet, unbreakable control. One of them includes a hidden psychological trick that forces your opponent to expose themselves. If you are ready to completely change how you communicate and win, type "ready" in the comments right now. Principle number 1. Shift the burden of proof. Imagine someone directly criticizes your work in front of your entire team. Perhaps it happens during a very high-stakes meeting where everyone is closely watching. They look right at you, confidently cross their arms, and loudly declare that your idea is terrible and will completely fail. They are setting a trap, fully expecting you to immediately jump in and desperately defend yourself. Most people panic in this exact high-pressure situation. They let their anxiety and insecurity completely take over. They start talking way too fast. They over-explain their entire thought process, and they desperately list a dozen different reasons why they are actually right. But here is the foundational psychological truth you must understand about human behavior. Whenever you rush to defend yourself against an unprovoked attack, you automatically look weak to everyone watching. You validate their aggressive behavior by treating their empty criticism as something important and worthy of a lengthy explanation. Instead of falling into that predictable trap, you just pause. You hold steady eye contact. You look directly at them, and you say very calmly, with absolutely no anger in your voice, "What exactly makes you so sure about that?" Simple, direct, completely unbothered. This is not an emotional attack. It is a brilliant strategic shift in conversational gravity. The loud, aggressive critic always feeds on your defensive, anxious reaction. When you ask that specific, pointed question, you instantly put the hot spotlight right back on them. You effortlessly take the heavy pressure off your own shoulders. Now, they are the one who has to explain. They have to logically justify their aggressive claim to the room. In most cases, you will find that they haven't really thought it through at all. They only wanted to provoke you, so they begin to stumble, use vague words, and their criticism completely collapses. You win simply by making them talk. Principle number 2. Neutralize with a verbal bridge. Imagine you are in a highly stressful environment, perhaps a critical project review with senior executives. Someone is aggressively trying to corner you publicly. They decide to bring up a past mistake right in front of your most key stakeholders. They carefully disguise their harsh, calculated insult as a casual, friendly, innocent little joke. But you know exactly what they are doing. They want to throw you off balance. They want to undermine your professional credibility. They are hunting for a specific reaction. When this happens, you have a split second. If you get visibly angry and highly defensive, you instantly look completely unprofessional and reactive. You essentially prove their subtle point for them. If you just sit there in frozen silence, you look guilty, intimidated, and emotionally weak. If you offer a nervous, rambling, desperate apology, you hand them all of your remaining power. Instead of choosing those highly predictable losing options, you use a highly calculated, powerful verbal bridge. You maintain very relaxed, open, unbothered body language. You look at them directly in the eyes. You keep your vocal tone incredibly low, and you state very calmly and extremely firmly, "I appreciate you bringing that historical point up, but let's focus our attention on current data." This specific technique works like absolute psychological magic. Let's break down exactly why this destroys them. Manipulative people always want you to fight back against their specific, toxic, and false premise. They desperately want you to argue about the past. When you confidently say that you appreciate it, you completely refuse to fight them on their terms. You do not give them the resistance they crave. You instantly disarm their carefully laid emotional trap. Then comes the absolute, most important psychological part. The simple word, "but," is incredibly powerful. In human psychology, it essentially erases whatever was said immediately before it was spoken. It shuts down their entire negative narrative completely. And finally, shifting the absolute focus to current data instantly positions you as the ultimate undeniable authority. You are the one guiding the entire meeting forward. You did not fight their toxic, negative emotional energy. You did not offer a desperate, nervous, weak apology. You did not let them derail the important agenda. You simply took the steering wheel right back and completely changed the conversation's entire future direction. The aggressive manipulator is left awkwardly stranded. They threw their best, most calculated punch, and you effortlessly sidestepped it in plain sight, without ever breaking a single drop of sweat. Everyone else sitting in that room immediately notices. They witness your unbreakable composure under intense fire. They respect your absolute refusal to be easily baited. This creates an aura of untouchable professional leadership. You win the room without fighting a single battle. Principle number 3. Call out the hidden tactic. Imagine someone tries to trap you with a highly manipulative question. Or they use a passive-aggressive tone during a completely normal conversation. They hide their hostile intentions behind a fake, polite smile. Most people react in two ways. They either ignore the obvious disrespect and feel quietly resentful inside, or they completely lose their temper and snap back with deep anger. Both of these common reactions give the manipulator exactly what they want. They want you to feel entirely powerless. Instead of playing their toxic game, you simply expose the underlying tactic. You look them right in the eye, keep your voice completely neutral, and you ask them directly, "Are you asking me a genuine question, or are you trying to make a point?" Then you just let the question sit. You embrace the heavy, awkward silence. Manipulators always thrive in the gray area. They hide their calculated insults behind so-called innocent jokes or cleverly disguised leading questions. When you ask this specific question, you forcefully drag them right into the light. If they claim it is just a question, they have to instantly drop the bad attitude. If they admit they are making a point, they have to own their aggressive behavior publicly. Either way, they are completely trapped. You strip away their clever disguise. You prove that you see right through them, and you do it without raising your voice. This earns you absolute, undeniable professional respect. It works instantly. Principle number 4. The power of the hard pause. Imagine someone makes an inappropriate comment, or they try to pressure you into making a very quick decision. They use urgency as a weapon. They desperately want to rush your thinking. They hope you will just agree, simply to escape the intense discomfort. Most people hate awkward silence. They feel a deep psychological need to immediately fill quiet spaces with nervous chatter or weak agreements. Manipulators know this human weakness perfectly. They use silence to extract concessions. But you are going to flip the script. When they say something out of line, you do absolutely nothing at all. You maintain steady, relaxed eye contact. You keep your facial expression completely blank, and you just let the silence stretch. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. This is incredibly difficult to do, but it is phenomenally powerful. The psychological pressure instantly reverses. Because you completely refuse to speak, the heavy burden of the conversation falls right back onto their shoulders. They start to feel the massive awkwardness. They realize their tactic completely failed. Usually, they will start to nervously backtrack, over-explain their previous statement, or start negotiating against their own interests. You did not have to argue with them at all. You did not have to defend your position. You simply let their own toxic words hang in the air until they collapsed. Principle number 5. Control access to your attention. Imagine a conversation that keeps spinning in exhausting, endless, and toxic circles. You explain your logical point clearly. They completely ignore your solid facts. You try to clarify your stance again. They deliberately twist your carefully chosen words. They are not trying to understand you. They are trying to exhaust you entirely. Most people stay in these draining arguments. They keep talking and explaining themselves, because leaving the room feels like losing. But staying in a highly toxic dynamic is the ultimate psychological loss. You must realize one fundamental truth. Your attention is your most valuable asset. You do not owe it to anyone who refuses to treat you with respect. So, instead of fighting a losing battle, you look at them with total calm. You pack up your things very quietly, and you deliver this absolute, firm boundary. This conversation is no longer productive, so I am stepping away right now. You do not ask for their permission. You do not wait for their approval. You do not offer a lengthy explanation. You simply remove your physical presence completely. Manipulators absolutely hate being entirely ignored. They desperately need your emotional reaction to feel powerful and in total control. When you walk away with zero visible anger, you completely starve them of that energy. You teach them a very harsh lesson. If they cannot act highly professionally, they permanently lose your time. Finale. Let's bring everything together right now. You have learned 5 powerful ways to handle manipulators and aggressive people without ever losing your absolute control. First, shift the heavy burden of proof. Second, neutralize tension with a verbal bridge. Third, directly call out the hidden tactic. Fourth, use the power of the hard pause. Fifth, control access to your attention entirely. These are not just clever little tricks. They are highly effective communication habits. And the more you actively use them, the more natural they will eventually become. Real leadership is never loud or chaotic. It is deeply controlled and highly precise. Most people will continue reacting very emotionally. They will keep raising their loud voices and trying to forcefully win every argument. But you do not play that game because you now deeply understand this truth. Control is power, silence is immense pressure, and calm clarity is absolute, undeniable authority. Life will probably never calm down fully, but you absolutely will. You do not need more words today. You just need much better ones. Subscribe and watch the next video now.